To the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode number 99. You're joining myself, Chris, your host for today, alongside the man of many pixels, Mr. Richie.
I can't believe we're almost at 100 episodes.
It's crazy to even comprehend. 99 weeks on the bounce, folks. We have brought you Stadia news and gaming news rounded up for your listening and viewing pleasure right here on Sounds of Stadia for what is the longest running Stadia podcast this side of Google Maps. We've proved it, episode 99. The proof is there. We don't just say this every week for my own happiness. I say it because it's true.
We do.
We do in a weird way, yes. But of course, we've got a great show lined up for you once again. We're hitting our stride now. 99 episodes. We know what we're doing. We're here to keep you entertained and talk about all things Stadia and news. In today's show, we have lined up a very juicy episode, actually, for 99. It's a shame it didn't actually happen for 100, but we're going to be talking about none other than Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 3, Vice City, and San Andreas coming to the platform. And it ain't necessarily just a rumour. It's been corroborated very well, so that's good news. We've got more games announced. Lots of games actually dropped. Another pro game for you beautiful people out there. Much more detail about some delays, unfortunately, some studio updates, and much, much more. But before we delve into all that, of course, I would love it if you would hit and celebrate episode 99 with us by hitting like down below, subscribing, and clicking that notification bell so you are kept in the loop with all things Sounds of Stadia and Stadia related here, because we do live streams, we do Let's Plays, we do First Looks, we do all... Don't know why I did glasses for the first time for First Looks. First
That can
look,
be a new thing.
That can be a new thing. First Looks. Is it that way? People do it the other way sometimes. We kind of look more like Batman.
It can be
there.
either.
Either way, episode 99, people. We bring you lots of Stadia content, and we love it, and we love all your support, all of you people, all of you hundreds of people who listen on podcast services out there in the digital cloud, and of course here at youtube.com/Sounds of Stadia. Busy week this week, Richie. We've had a very, very busy week in terms of gaming, but before we get into all the juicy gaming news, we just want to let you guys know that we are actually celebrating the big milestone that is next week, episode 100, and we're doing so with a special live stream next Saturday. That is, in fact, Saturday the 21st of August. Not quite 2 years old is the channel yet, but we've reached 100 episodes. So we're going to celebrate by doing a little game live stream, similar to our Thursday streams, but it's going to go for a bit longer. We usually only do for about 2 or 3 hours on a Thursday. We're going to give you guys the entire Saturday evening. Join us, UK, stateside, wherever you are in the world. Probably have a couple of beers, as is per tradition, and we'll play some games. Not necessarily Rainbow Six Siege. We may have had our fill of that in recent weeks.
Yeah, we've all that recently.
Ooh, we may do some of it, depending on what our audience wants. So let us know what you'd like to see.
We'll put it to you guys. What do you want to play with us?
Yeah, we could go take some things out in Hitman. We could go back to some of the old school classic arcade games we played very, very early doors. Some Cake Bash, some Get Packed. Of course, Fully Loaded is just out. But do let us know in the comments below. Reach out to us. Hit us up on Twitter at CyberChris2077 and at
RichieC89.
And speaking of atting people, Richie, every week we have a tradition on the show, in the absence of our techie teacher himself, Mr. Tom, of course, out there being a parent and being a super daddy. We like to send Tom a hashtag every week to remind him that his audience love him, miss him dearly, but also want to pester him with Twitter notifications. And this week, I want to go with the hashtag Knuckles. And there's a very good reason for that, because in the gaming world, if you've not been paying attention, everyone, Idris Elba has been cast as Knuckles in the Sonic sequel movie.
This is a weird casting. I don't know. I think it could be awesome, but it could also be terrible. I literally have no idea.
I think it works. Obviously, Idris Elba on his Twitter.
I didn't like the first Sonic film. I found Sonic very irritating as a character, so I'm more skeptical than you.
See, I enjoyed it quite a bit. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's just a daft family movie, and it was. I think it was the little nostalgic bits that got me. But yeah, Idris Elba over on Twitter just put out knock knock and a picture of Knuckles. Well, Knuckles, I guess. And yeah, after watching him in Suicide Squad the past week, and obviously he's been in Fast and Furious, and he's a well-renowned actor out there now. I'm just really intrigued to see what he brings to this character of Knuckles, because of course him and Sonic have that kind of back and forth relationship where they are friends, but there is still a bit of...
Well, they were originally Knuckles was an antagonist.
Yeah, so there's an interesting element bringing to it. What I am hoping for this sequel, spoilers if anyone's not seen the first one, is they actually almost leave the human world a little bit and go more into like... I'd love to see the casino zone, but just more of that world.
While we're on it, if we bring in Knuckles, we'll probably bring in the Chaos Emeralds as well. We might get Supersonic.
We could indeed. So,
and considering Sonic's already portrayed as a kid with ADHD who's had too many Red Bulls, giving him Supersonic is going to make him even more irritating.
Well, I'm sure you'll look out for that one, and it shouldn't be too long. I'm looking forward to seeing more of that. Jim Carrey as Dr. Robotnik, or Dr. Eggman as he's known now, of course, to the you kids out there. But yes, hashtag Knuckles, send it to Tom in any way, shape or form. Any innuendos you want to attach to Knuckles, do your worst, because that's what we do this hashtag challenge for every week anyway. We do want to do another special shout out to the Stadia community out there and the Stadia team, actually, because if you've not been keeping an eye on the channel of late, we took part in, I want to say, the first ever official community game stream.
Yeah,
I don't recall another one. I know they've promoted other people's streams in the past, but not where they...
Feel free to correct us if we're wrong in the comments.
Directly been involved. But yes, we were part of the Rainbow Six Siege free weekend that happened weekend just gone. But we got to play Grace from the community team. Nate was in there, Nate Ahern as well, and a bunch of other people from actual employees of Stadia. They arranged it. The official account was tweeting it out. We were part of the Suicide Squad, as I dubbed ourselves, with Megatron X, Vet Cloud Gaming, and Alex from Nimbus Cloud Gaming as well joined us to absolutely, Richie, kick some ass. And we did, surprisingly.
It was a clean sweep.
Absolute queen sweep.
Nothing about the practice streams we'd done suggested what we'd get such a good run, but we did.
No, we absolutely knocked it out of the park. Go check that out. It's available on the channel. We had a great time, and again, just a massive thank you for being organised. Thank you for Meg for picking us as part of our team. It couldn't have went better. We had some great laughs in our practice runs. We did some practice off camera as well, just to build our synergy together almost, and it totally worked. We were calm, collected. Some of us more than others, but we did ourselves proud.
I had a bit of fun as well watching back over people's streams, because Grace was actually streaming on her own YouTube channel as well. But obviously, I'm going up against her, so I wasn't watching that. So I watched her stream afterwards, and it was quite fun to just hear their communication, what was going on at the same time we were playing.
Did you watch them back side by side as well, or just
no,
the one?
I didn't. I only watched Grace's.
Yeah, I saw loads of people on Twitter had all of the streams up, because of course before us was Vivi Plays with his team, with Bryant and such, and then we had after us was John from John Sky Game, For Sky Gaming as well, and loads of people.
For the other stuff, I did have like multiple streams running, but it was only when I went back and watched like our stream. I only watched Grace's.
It was tons of fun though. We did ourselves proud, representing you, the Stadia community out there, taking on Team Stadia, and no doubt we will return to that at some point in the future as well. However, it will not be this week, because this week we're going to turn the dial a little bit. We're going to delve into something different. We are going to be jumping into War for Wakanda from the Avengers, of course, the free story DLC featuring King T'Challa himself, voiced by none other than Christopher Judge from God of War and Stargate fame. I've heard the DLC is really good, but we'll talk about that more later in the show. But this Thursday, if you want to join our roster, be a superhero alongside myself and Richie, keep it checked out, keep locked to the channel so you're kept in the loop, and you'll get a notification when we go live, 8 PM BST, right here. Avengers, assemble. Final point, Richie. What have you been playing this week, aside from Rainbow Six Siege?
I rage quit Mass Effect.
Oh, that's not a game known for rage quitting. What happened?
No, well, I've already been quite on record in the podcast saying I think Mass Effect is a bit of a broken mess. Specifically, the audio is just absolute trash.
In the Legendary Edition.
In the Legendary Edition. In one, I haven't checked the others out. But I'm on pretty much the last mission string where you land on Ilos and it's pretty much good to go. And it crashed about 4 times in about half an hour.
Really?
It just kept the game just kept crashing, and I was just like, no, you're not worth my time anymore.
You really haven't had a good run with this particular game.
there's no excuse for me. BioWare, if you're listening, it's a remaster. What have you actually remastered? It seems I genuinely think you'd be better off buying the original Mass Effect, and you probably have a better time.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't encounter. I had some audio issues, like you said, but nowhere. I've not been plagued with game closures and stuff like you seem to have done.
Yeah, it's just trash.
Wow.
It's just a mess.
And it's taken away from the story, I take it, as well.
Well, yeah, it's like the story. I can see why people like it, but the thing is, it is still an old game, so there's things like the dialogue's kind of a bit disjointed and stuff. But I expected that stuff going in. But when basic things like audio, there's audio issues in a remaster. It's just inexcusable, to be honest. It's a remaster. A remaster should be more than just putting a new coat of paint on it. You should actually fix issues and not create more.
I agree. Well, let's hope our first star of the week. Yeah, our first star of the week hopefully doesn't come out in that condition. I'm guessing then you've moved away from that and focused your attentions elsewhere.
Well, that was actually last night, so I haven't yet. But I may jump back in to give it one more shot, but it's unlikely.
You should give Grime a go. I'd recommend Grime as something I think you would like after last week. I, similar to you, still chipping away at Mass Effect 2. I haven't had that much time, been really busy with work this week, like our audience, I'm sure can relate to, no doubt. Don't have family to attend to, but I do have an audience. I have work to keep me busy, and I'm chipping away, I'm gathering my squad. No audio issues for me, but then again, I didn't have that many with number one, so maybe just flip of the coin. I'm enjoying that. Over on Stadia, of course, we have been playing Rainbow Six Siege. I played a little bit more of Grime, a little bit more of FIFA, as per usual, and I am tempted to jump back into Assassin's Creed and check out one of the new pro games that we're going to talk about in just a moment. But once again, thank you everybody for liking, subscribing, and sharing the channel so everyone else gets to know about all the Stadia content we bring to you lovely people out there. Richie, give us the rundown. Introduce us to the
super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the
news. Sponsored this week by our newest member, VetCloud Gaming. Thank you very much for your support, sir. It's wholeheartedly appreciated, and you get access to our Sounds of Stadia SideQuest episode, extra stickers in the chat, and a fancy new Stadia controller next to your name for supporting us that little bit more. And you can do so. You're sponsoring the news this week. Thank you very much. First up, Richie.
Yes.
Huge story, blew wide open just before we went live on Thursday. We've wanted this, I think, for some time. There's been some rumours out there for quite a while now. But straight from Kotaku, we have an interesting article that says, after months of speculation, rumours and speculation, we should point out, they've learned that from sources that Rockstar Games may be remastering 3 classic Grand Theft Auto games, and it appears they'll release later this fall for a multitude of platforms, including Google Stadia. So, to give a bit of clarity, for the last year, there's been quite a lot of rumours going around about these games coming in some form of remaster. Of course, Rockstar, huge multi-million, thanks to just one title essentially, backed up a little bit by Red Dead 2. They make millions and millions through Grand Theft Auto Online, but they have a massive team of studios all spread across the globe, so they have to be doing something in the background rather than just supporting GTA Online.
Specifically, the one that's alleged to be working on these remakes, these remasters, not remakes. We assume that's a remaster at this point. Is Rockstar Dundee, which is a fairly new purchase of theirs.
Yeah.
They've worked on the Crackdown games for the Master Chief Collection, and then Rockstar bought them. So apparently they're working on the GTA 5 next-gen ports, but helping out there, but apparently taking the lead on these remasters.
And we have seen, of course, there's a lot of quick turnaround for remasters. It's obviously easier to remaster a game when you've already got, you'd imagine, all the coding.
Games, you've already completed development of the game. All you need to do is kind of maybe fix some problems, change resolution, sort the audio balancing issues out. BioWare.
I knew you were going to bring that back. Obviously the story's written, the script's there, the voice acting's there, the audio's there. It all just needs polishing up to a degree. So no surprise. The sources, again, just to clarify, is the sources have said they're actively developing versions of Grand Theft Auto 3, which is the first entry into the 3D realm, Grand Theft Auto Vice City, which is my favourite one, Grand Theft Auto
agreed.
San Andreas, which is, again, it's the trilogy of just PlayStation 2 era titles, which took Grand Theft Auto to a whole new level. All three of these games have been remastered using the Unreal Engine, and there'll be a mix of both new and old graphics. So kind of what I would expect from...
It's a remaster.
Yes, exactly. And one source has claimed to have seen a snippet of the game in action and said that the visuals remind them of the heavily modded version of the classic GTA title, which I think you can get on PC. It's like been modded by the community to absolute death, where it actually looks... I see videos on social media all the time. It looks very, very good. So even if they can hit that level... I'm looking forward to it. The user interface for the games are being updated too, but they will retain the same classic style. So my guess is they might update the controls so they don't feel as clunky, because, again, if you remember, GTA 3 wasn't really leaning heavily on like analog sticks and triggers. It was very much your traditional games.
Yeah, it's the early entry into the 3D space.
Yeah, exactly.
Developers were still figuring out how to do this.
Figure that out.
Yeah, I'm very optimistic by this, actually.
Yeah.
One of the things the Kotaku article does say that jumped out to me is originally I think this was seemingly planned as a thank you gift for those who bought the next gen version of Grand Theft Auto 5.
Okay.
But they seem to have jettisoned that plan off and just making them a standalone release.
I mean, you
potentially digital only. But
you can make more money this way, right?
Yeah. But it just shows that they probably have a bit more faith in the games, actually, to stand on their own rather than just going, hey, here's a cool thank you gift.
We should point out as well, like, it's no surprise that they're being remastered again. These are like classic, like arguably some of the best video games of all time. They may not hold up as well, but from the impact they've had on gaming and like kind of gaming culture, cannot be denied. Like Grand Theft Auto 3 revolutionized what open world kind of meant, and then Vice City was just perfect in terms of like bringing like nostalgia. I don't think we'd ever had nostalgia in a game. Like the soundtrack for Vice City,
it's
phenomenal. But in terms of the games, they are available on mobile as well, so you can buy them right now on the Google Play Store and iOS. So it's like there are iterations of them already out there to play quite easily. But the fact that they've said it's bringing the Google Stadia, I think is amazing for us, and the fact that it is a remaster shouldn't be denied. What else have they said in terms of the article for this port? So let's see, some more details they have released is the ones who wanted the interesting of the game. It's going to be focused on next-gen ports. He said there the Dundee team are working on it, in and amongst other projects. The probably biggest thing for me is that the story has been corroborated with other people who are reliable sources who've give lots of information regarding Grand Theft Auto Online updates in the past. It is confirmed for PS4, 5, Xbox One, Series X, Switch, Nintendo Switch as well, PC, and mobile phone. So they want this game everywhere. But I'm just thrilled to see. Yeah, I'm just thrilled to see that it is coming to Stadia. I think that's the biggest takeaway for me, is that we have Red Dead Redemption, so there is a relationship with Rockstar and Take-Two on the platform.
Yeah,
we just didn't know if it was going to be the one and out, and they were done.
And there has been rumours. I don't know how credible they are. I don't know whether it's just content creator wishful thinking that's become rumours. But with the next gen of GTA 5 coming to Stadia, which I'd love to see.
Yeah, that is very true.
And it kind of also makes sense why it's not there on the platform already. Because you imagine if Google have talked, obviously going to have talked to Rockstar about bringing GTA 5 to Stadia at some point, because they got Red Dead, so why wouldn't you talk about GTA as well?
That's very true, yeah. You've got to imagine a conversation happened in Stadia's kind of embryonic state. What game can you bring? Well, we've got Red Dead Redemption 2. That's our biggest title at the moment in terms of it's the newest title. It's we want it to be huge. Let's put that out. And Google must have went, well, what about Grand Theft Auto? And Rockstar could have turned around and said, well, actually, we're going to be working on a next-gen version, so how about we hold off on that and we give you the most current, up-to-date version in a year or so's time? Yeah,
I'm hoping that's the way the conversations went down, and because then especially if it comes with things like cross-play and stuff for the Grand Theft Auto Online component.
Yeah.
Then,
because the reason we think that it could be on the cards is every time there's like Amazon Loot Prime, I think, is it, or Shark Card promotion, Stadia is in the small print, which has led people to think like, oh, Grand Theft Auto 5 Online will be coming. Maybe it's a standalone package, maybe it's its own game. And there are heavy rumours as well that Rockstar are hoping to just make Grand Theft Auto a world that's all connected. So you've got
Yeah,
Vice
well,
City, San Andreas, Liberty City, all part of one world that is always growing with DLC and content. And I don't think they want to make numbered iterations in the long run because online makes so much money.
Yeah, well, I know. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong saying this. I think for the next gen versions, Grand Theft Auto Online and Grand Theft Auto 5 will actually be separate. Will be separated from each other, so standalone applications.
Yeah,
So you don't have to have both. You don't have to have 5 installed to play online,
yeah,
which makes a lot more sense because then maybe Grand Theft Auto Online just becomes Grand Theft Auto.
yeah.
But then also have the option to do a Grand Theft Auto 6, which is just going to be a standalone single player
Yeah.
story.
I would imagine they want the next version of Grand Theft Auto Online to just be the world, and whatever 6 looks like, that will be like a season pass package.
Yeah,
And that's
the way
it.
I think it will go.
Because let's face
You
it, it
get
doesn't
some
make
single
them.
player stuff.
Yeah,
This is why I think they might get a shorter single player experience, but then you can take that carry straight over into online after.
yeah. No, I think that would be a good shout for them. It would make sense in terms of the way they target their market and their audience right now. But all in all, I'm just hyped to play. Like I have the Grand Theft Auto trilogy on PlayStation 4. I think was when they did the PS2 ports on PS4,
Yeah,
but you can't play PS3 games and that whole backwards compatibility thing. Played them for a little while, but again, they are big games in and amongst themselves. Although the maps, my nostalgia for the maps, like Vice City was like, oh, this huge world. It's just the 2 islands with is it Star Island in the middle?
Yeah.
It's not that big of a map at all, but I feel like I want to go back to it, and the fact that I might be able to do it in the cloud is going to be fantastic. Jump from phone to tablet to whatever. In Remastered, I'm very intrigued to see how they can up the graphics, because again, they hold up to a degree, but like when people have like blocky square hands and everything still, and
We're looking at the era of like flat images stretched over polygons. It's
yeah,
not pretty.
it's limited.
And it's Grand Theft Auto 3 as well is very drab. It's very just grey and dingy.
Texture-wise, certainly,
Yeah,
Liberty
it's like-
City's just block colour, block colour, block colour.
There's nothing going on interesting like visually in that game.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Vice City is so awesome because it's quite colourful, felt quite alive.
Yeah, they managed to bring the 80s Miami Vice back alive, of
Yeah.
course. So out of the 3, Richie, you said Vice City is your favourite.
Yes.
What's your
I haven't really
reasoning
played-
for that?
Well, I haven't played San Andreas.
What? How?
I'm not a big Grand Theft Auto fan. I never have been. I had Vice City on the PlayStation 2, and I used to just like messing around with like cars and doing jumps and stuff. But I was never really interested in the storylines or anything.
Oh, the story's fantastic.
Yeah.
No, oh well, you've got an opportunity now then to play the most polished version you possibly can do. Let us know in the comments below which of the 3 titles is your favourite and why. I'm sure you've got your special reasons for each one. Like I said, mine's Vice City. Just soundtrack alone. Soundtrack alone did it. And you can't deny Tommy Vercetti's shirt is definitely iconic. It certainly is. Moving on to the second story of the week, we had loads of games drop. We've rated them over the last couple of weeks here on the podcast. We've mentioned there've been ESRB'd and ISK'd and whatever the other one is. We've got a massive drop from Outright Games. 5 titles dropped this Friday, and one of which is your Pro game. So go claim it if you still have Stadia Pro, especially if you've got children out there. Richie, in our SideQuest last week, we actually discussed what a Stadia Kids will look like for parents, children. Does it need to be a separate package? Is it subscription? And Outright Games just dropped 5 titles, which I would say belong perfectly in something like that. First up, Scrat's Ice Age, Scrat's Nutty Adventure, not Revenge. That's the sequel where he wants revenge for it. We've discussed these briefly in weeks past. This is the one out of the 5 of them that actually most appealed to me. It looks like a fun 3D action and platformer, but I think it surprised us when we spoke about the podcast last time of how good graphically it looks, like the textures of the water and the surroundings, and it's Scrat. So for those who have enjoyed Ice Age, he's the comical little squirrel character who's after his nuts.
Yeah, it didn't just look like a cheap tie-in just to, like, along with a movie or something. Sometimes kids games can be like, oh, let's just put the IP in a very simple platform. It looked like a bit of care and attention went into it.
It really does.
Yeah.
It reminds me of Spyro the Dragon in a lot of ways. Lots of little puzzles to avoid. Every level has like a slightly different colour palette to it. There's obviously an ice level, there's a volcanic level, there's a forest level. Different characters in. I'm sure there's going to be plenty of movie references and jokes in and amongst it as well. But I've never played an Ice Age game, but I do like Scrat, and I do enjoy the movies for what they are. So yeah, that was the first one up on the list. Part of the community blog. This was all announced as well from Outright Games. It's currently marked down as $29.99 US. So probably about £30 UK still because of the terrible conversion rate. Second up, sticking with the dinosaurs, we have Gigantosaurus. Was also dropped. So this one invites actually up to 4 friends to cooperate in platforming challenges, then race one another between levels to rescue their big buddy, the beloved Gigantor. Now this one looked a little bit like Scrat's Adventure, but with less budget.
Yeah.
In terms of very similar aesthetics around the world, but definitely not as much detail went into it. With weird elements of racing between them, so I'm thinking with this title, it looks like there's little mini games segued in and in amongst puzzle racing, I guess. This one do anything for you?
So. No, not really.
Because we did theorise on SideQuest about different genres, and this could be a kart racer-esque in a weird way.
I think it's... I don't know. I think it's just a mixture of genres put together, so it probably does them all fairly okay at best. You're not gonna get like a Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing level of kart racing out of this. I wouldn't expect, and you're not gonna get like a Mario or Crash like quality of like platforming.
Yeah, it does take it.
Yeah, I just think there's probably a bit too much going into the game. But if you got kids, this might be great fun for them.
Yeah, I mean we should. Of course,
yeah,
if it's not obvious, neither of us have children.
I'm very much not the target audience for this game.
Yeah, we are not. Like, I'm sure as a child I would love it. I've seen loads of people on Twitter already complete the game, some of them, especially the pro game for this month.
Yeah.
I no doubt have fun with them, but you're totally right. Yeah, it's clearly not aimed at us. And that's why we did a whole SideQuest episode on that one as well. Moving a little bit away from dinosaurs, but sticking with the mythical and fantastical, we've got DreamWorks' Dragon's Dawn of New Riders. All of these games, by the way, a lot of them have terrible naming conventions. It's far too long.
Yeah.
But I guess, yeah, you need to get your sponsorships in there. DreamWorks, Dragon's Dawn of New Ride. I'm confused even reading it. This one looks more like again, 3D puzzle platform type game with some Panzer Dragoon elements melded into it from, of course, the DreamWorks Dragons franchise, How to Train Your Dragon.
Interesting. This seems to be a top-down, like isometric view.
It's got a little bit more difference of tone to it.
I can't believe I'm going to say this about this game. It reminds me in some weird ways of like what you might expect from like a Legend of Zelda, almost like the top-down isometric view. You've got your heart as your life continues. You seem to have items and abilities and stuff, and then you've got to solve puzzles to progress through the world and. It's probably even got some dungeons or something. But... Yeah,
it actually reminded me of when we played Lara Croft and Temple of Osiris, like with those type. Because again, it is up to this one. So to describe this one, it is Toothless, which is the character, and all the rest of your beloved Vikings are back and ready for a quest that will take them through puzzles, traps, and monsters on a mission to save their imprisoned friends. So it doesn't really explain anything about the gameplay, but from the looks of it, you're totally right there. Yeah, top down. Puzzle solving madness, I guess, with dragons, and who doesn't love dragons? Moving on from dinosaurs and everything, back to more modern day four-lined friends, we've got Paw Patrol, the movie, which I do think has just came out this summer. The actual movie, I heard a radio advertisement for it earlier today, so this is a movie tie-in game. Paw Patrol, to give it its full name, Paw Patrol the movie, Adventure City Calls, is available now, and that one is Paw Patrol Excursion. I don't know anything about Paw Patrol, so I don't know what to say. It's a movie about dogs. It's Nickelodeon, I believe, but it's dogs who, if I again, I'm sure parents listen to us out there thinking Paw Patrol's amazing. My kid loves it. I'm sure it is.
Yeah,
it's something to do with all that. Yeah,
there going, oh my god, Paw Patrol's amazing. How do you not know about Paw Patrol? Chris and I don't have kids.
Yeah, I know of it. I believe the firemen, right?
Yeah.
Or do they all have different jobs?
I don't.
I can hear our listeners and viewers out there screaming.
I know Paw Patrol exists. That's about as far as my knowledge of it goes.
So do you want some more Paw Patrol is what you're telling me, Richie?
No, I'm pretty good.
No, you want more because that's the next story as part of this.
I
Yeah. No, you do want more. You do want more. So next
I want
up,
more Paw Patrol. Give me more Paw Patrol.
Next up, aside from the movie, we've got Paw Patrol Mighty Pups Save Adventure Bay. So this is a different take. This one is Adventure Bay. Both games. There we go. The community blog does explain it. Both games put players in control of their favourite pups as they race to save their friends. Use pawsome teamwork in two-player co-op mode.
I do appreciate the pun.
Of course, we all appreciate a good pun here. Of course, available on most platforms now. But more importantly, with this title, to kind of whet your appetite, I guess, for the movie game and to intrigue you into it, it is a pro game. So a surprise middle of the month drop there. It's usually retailing at $39.99 US, so probably about £34 UK. Free. Add it to your pro library. So if Grime isn't quite the game to be playing with your children, maybe go with Paw Patrol instead. So yeah, 2 Paw Patrol games, an Ice Age game, a Gigantosaurus game, and a DreamWorks How to Train Your Dragon title. All in all, Richie, Outright Games dropping a ton of titles in one go this past Friday. It's great to see. That's what you need. You need more genres, catering for more people.
And while we've been having this conversation about them, I've been watching a couple of quick Let's Plays and stuff, just jumping around to have a good idea what the game's about more than anything. And they all seem reasonably well polished, from what I can tell as well. So
yeah,
always useful to know, because I remember sometimes in the past when we were growing up, you get a game aimed at kids and it would just be a mess.
Yeah,
mess, just like,
or it would try and teach you something like educational, the values and the morals. It's like, I just want to have fun. I actually enjoyed the SpongeBob game. I did play some of, but then again we grew up with SpongeBob as well, so it's not actually. It's so weird how the lines are blurred. Like, we're massive Pokemon fans still. That was a kid's thing, so there's nothing to say. Yeah, Paw Patrol. People aren't going to be fighting over Paw Patrol cards and merchandise in 20 years to come. Nostalgia's a powerful thing, folks. South Park taught us that with the member berries. Actually, speaking of nostalgia, that brings us to our third story of the week. Go claim your pro games, by the way. I think you may have missed the window for Little Nightmares 2 if you haven't already claimed it. I know that was on its way out as Paw Patrol was on its way in.
I think it's just expired, but you've had plenty of time. You've had like 6 months or something.
Yeah, something like that. But like we said, speaking of things expiring, we've had an update from the team behind Life is Strange True Colours coming to the platform later this year. They've thankfully updated us to say that the game is still on track, and they've also pointed out there is going to be some DLC coming later on. However, they've also unfortunately told us that Life is Strange Remastered, which was, I believe, packaged with the deluxe edition. We had this conversation before, right, Richie? You were pre-ordering one of them, and
I can't remember. I don't know. I don't think it was packaged. I think you got an extra story or something in True Colours as a side character with the deluxe edition. I think Life is Strange before Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm, I think I stand alone.
Right, okie dokie. Well, we'll get more clarity on that. But essentially, Don't Nod, the developers behind it, have said that the main game, the new game, is on track, but unfortunately the remastered collection has been delayed from autumn 2021 to 2022, early 2022 as well. So they didn't put a specific date on this title. I don't really mind. Again, it's a remastered collection. Yeah. You and me have both played it. I have the Platinum on PlayStation on it, so we've got our fill from the game.
Yeah.
However, I do want to pose the question to you, Richie. Is this now a weird order to release these games in? So people are now going to play... I always feel like this would have been great leading up to the new one, and now it's coming after.
Well, the thing I think we need to remember with Life is Strange is, while Life is Strange and Life is Strange Before the Storm are connected, they kind of... Life is Strange 2 and True Colours are seemingly just standalone stories in their own right, so I don't think it's going to be a big deal. It's probably stranger as if you're just only in the Stadia ecosystem, because then you get effectively getting Life is Strange 3 before you can get 1, and Before the Storm is a prequel to 1, and then 2's not come to the platform that we know of.
Yeah. Yeah, 2's this
I 100% expect you to be able to play True Colours, Colours, whatever. Is it True Colours?
True Colours, yeah. True Colours.
Right, True Colours, yeah. I 100 expect you to be able to play through that game 100% without having any issues if you haven't played any of the others.
Yeah,
you might get a few more references here or there if you have played the others, but
yeah,
it won't be. I doubt it'll be story breaking.
Yeah, I think you're completely right in there. Now you've mentioned it, is they are very much standalone stories, and yeah, 2 had very little to do with 1. Before the Storm, obviously the spin-off of the first game did have something to do. That was like almost like a little prequel story. And yeah, from what we've seen of True Colors, is it's a standalone story, totally different part of America, different characters and stuff. I'm sure there will be some tangible links in. There might be a character shows up, but
I think there is actually one character that is in Before the Storm, I believe.
Yeah, I think it was the other girl.
Do you remember the Before the Storm at the start when you do like the D&D stuff?
Mm-hmm.
I think that girl is actually in True Colors, and I think she is the focus of the extra story.
Right. Okay. Wavelengths is the DLC.
Yeah.
That they've announced. But very odd for Stadia. People, I guess, if they've not been aware of the titles before, hopefully the remastered one doesn't impact the gameplay too much, because I think playing True Colors in like a modern 2021 game and then going back to a remaster might feel a bit clunky going that way as opposed to this way, but they're not too heavy on the gameplay mechanics anyway.
Yeah, I remember I was quite surprised when there was a remaster, because the games aren't that old and actually perfectly adequate to play with. Like the graphics are quite stylized enough, so they don't look like aged too bad or anything.
Yeah,
if they literally just ported the originals over, I think people would have been happy.
Yeah, it is a very distinct art style for Life is Strange. It's reminiscent of Telltale in a way. That's why I think I always like them. It's Telltale games, but without so much.
Yeah,
it's more interactive than the Telltale ones. But update on that one for you guys there. So if you have pre-ordered it, just be aware that you're going to have to wait a little bit longer. Hopefully early 2022 and not too late as well. On the flip side though, things that are just around the corner, Richie, we have an update for Humankind that's very, very pertinent to Stadia this particular week. So Humankind is coming to Stadia platforms. Richie, you've got it pre-ordered. Anytime soon. Is it August 17th? Yeah, August 17th.
I think it comes out Tuesday, so at the time you're listening, I think it comes out tomorrow.
Nice. Available, obviously, still for pre-order now. We played the beta back as part of the Good Stuff event last summer. Had a great time with it. Played with our audience. Named some of our civilizations after them. Updates for it this week. A few things that I want to kind of just drill into. As you have it pre-ordered, you'll be playing it, no doubt. You're a big Civ fan. You've mentioned you dove back into Civilization just a few episodes back, I think, if I recall.
Yeah, like Civilization, it's one of them games. I'm only playing Civ 5, even though Civ 6 is getting on a bit already. But it's one of them games I'll jump into once a year and have a bit of fun with for like a week, and then I'll bounce and not touch it again for a while.
Certainly. And if you pre-order it, there is a discount available as well. So if you get your pre-orders in before next week, you'll save a couple of pound or dollars there too. The reason this brings up is not only is it just on the horizon, it's a 4X style game, and it's probably the first of its kind to come to Stadia. So it lines in very well with our SideQuest episode last week, talking about what genres we would like to see more of on the platform for specific reasons. And funnily enough, we delved into it in the SideQuest episode, saying direct touch controls for these type of games. The Sims we theorised. Yeah. Planet Coaster, Jurassic World Evolution were some of the ones I flung into the mix. And lo and behold, mere days later, Richie, Google announced that Humankind, or Google and the devs, we should say, Sega, publishers, Amplitude, the developers, have announced that the Stadia version is going to come with direct touch control. Which, for those who don't know, is exactly what we theorise, which is replacing the traditional on-screen analog sticks and buttons with tap controls. So pinch, zoom.
It's basically exactly how you'd want touch controls to work. So if you pick up your tablet and you're playing this game, instead of using an emulated controller, which are universally terrible, you can just, I'll tap that and I'll select the unit. I'll tap there and the unit will move to there. It's exactly what you'd want from it. I'm really happy that this is coming. I probably won't play much on my phone. But I'm happy it's there.
Yeah, well, actually, I'd love you to have a little look of it. So next week on episode 100, we can report back.
Before next week's podcast, I'll definitely have a play.
Yeah.
I doubt I'll make any content on it because that's going to be very difficult to set up.
Yeah, just your impressions. But from what we've seen from some of the images the devs have dropped out, is that you've got tap to select things with one finger, tap with two fingers to cancel, So it's kind of like
Yeah.
commands. Hold your finger down to preview. So that's going to be, I'd imagine, for like information on a particular unit or something. And then
That's
tap
basically
with...
going to be your right click.
Yeah, it seems like it. And then tap 3 fingers to toggle the pause menu. So lots of tap. Pinch and zoom is in there as well. And then I'd imagine you just move around with your finger, like drag and drop almost.
It seems... it feels like, just one tap is left click. Tap and hold is right click. Two finger tap is just cancel, which is probably equivalent of escape if you're playing on a keyboard, probably. 3 fingers will just bring up your menus, which seems pretty intuitive. Seems good. Yeah,
fantastic. And we should point out as well, it's going to feature state share, so people can leave their mark on that one, share their colonies, and hand them out to people out there in the wild via just a link.
It's one of them. You could just create scenarios. And then share it with people. Oh, here's a scenario that I'm struggling. How would you go about completing this objective?
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. And we mentioned on last week's show as well, but the Explore tab has just been updated as well within the app. So that actually is going to allow people to not only share the screenshots and share their tags and things with the community, but it's great stuff. And I'm really looking forward to seeing how Humankind brings direct touch control and maybe sharing a little bit more vibrancy, because I think it's great when they get announced and people try it out, but then it kind of dies down a little bit. But you can't deny direct touch brings a totally different element to the platform.
Well, I think direct touch for Stadia is one of them things that could actually, I think, elevate Stadia to another level, because then we already know you can just pull out your phone and play like AAA titles, but especially things like strategy games or anything turn-based, as more things get integrated with direct touch, that's going to be fantastic for like a lot of people.
Yeah. I played Humankind. I really enjoyed it. I don't know whether I want to jump into it right now. I'm probably more keen to just see what your take is on the full game, and that will probably influence my decision whether or not I want to. But
for me, it's Humankind, something that I would refer to as a library game, where it's something I'd like to just have constantly installed, and I'll just jump in when I fancy it. I'm not going to sit there for like 100 hours into it in like a space of a month.
Yeah, just dabble back.
But over the space of 5 years, I might stick 300.
Yeah, that's true. It's kind of what my relationship is like with Roller Coaster Tycoon. I've been playing that game on and off for 25, pretty much all my life. And I don't even think about it. I go months without even thinking about it, but then I'll see something. I might go to a theme park, or I'll see an advert, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, you know what,
you'll walk past a shop that has some candy floss, and then you spend the next 2 weeks playing Roller Coaster Tycoon.
Every time it rains, I think, you know what, I could sell umbrellas for 100% markup price and people will buy it. And I just go back to it. And I've got it on mobile. I play it sometimes on my phone and tablet, and that has the touch input controls, even though it was a PC game. So, lots of interesting things there. Great to see, and I'm hoping it brings all of these little stories we report week in, week out. I'm hoping it's going to start to turn the tide out there. You can't deny IGN and them and the Kotaku and stuff. They cannot deny at some point like all the good work Stadia is putting in here, and direct touch is just another thing that other platforms aren't doing. I know xCloud is trialing it with... Is it with Humankind as well? I feel like I've read something this week.
Yeah, Humankind is going to be a Game Pass game.
That was the next caveat. Yes, thanks for reminding me. Humankind is going straight into Xbox Game Pass, which then leads me to say, like, has that changed your mind on your pre-order with Game Pass?
Well, I don't have Game Pass, so I'm going to stick with Stadia for now.
Okay.
I actually do have a coupon though. When
everyone does.
I can get a discount for Game Pass.
Everybody has. They just give them away.
I don't
3
know
months.
when I'm going to use it or if. There's one more thing I want to touch on Humankind on Stadia is, unfortunately, you won't get crossplay on the Stadia version. You will on other versions. So if you're if you're into multiplayer of these sort of games, Stadia might not be the best example for you. But that is it's entirely possible that things like State Share and Direct Touch has made them not compatible.
Yeah, that could be a good point.
So it may be a choice, but I'm very much going to be a single player on this sort of game, so I'm perfectly happy.
Yeah, I wouldn't have even considered Humankind as a multiplayer game. That type of game is something I want to just play in my own time till the early hours of the morning, making my own civil.
There's something so lethargic about Civilizations, games like that, where you just got one more 10.
Yeah, it's management
all
games.
All you're doing is you're clicking that city and going, I'll build that.
Yeah.
Click that city, I'll build that. Move
Absolutely.
That there.
Management games. That's why Roller Coaster Tycoon is so good. Once you've built your park to a certain degree, you just sit back and watch the finances go up and down, and you hit the start of the next month and all the bills come in, and then you start to build back up and you buy and invest, and
then you get to the point where you run out of space to build something like, I need to start a new park.
Yeah, then you start. Yeah, exactly. Unlimited funds is great. But yeah, so the reason kind of wanted to bring that in full circle is, for me, the games on the horizon. We always talk about what's next as gamers, and like Humankind is great. There's a bit of a void, and we've said it on a few podcasts for the last several weeks now. There's this kind of just void where we don't know what's next around the corner. We don't know we're getting Guardians of the Galaxy. This Grand Theft Auto rumour is aimed for the fall. We're not getting Battlefield 2042. We won't get the Call of Duty. We are getting FIFA, but other than FIFA, I'm thinking, what am I going to be playing in the months to come? And at the moment, my intrigue is over on Back 4 Blood, Ghost of Tsushima Remaster, and I've still got Mass Effect 3 in the pipeline. So that's like how my forecast is looking in the future. And then I find out that Back 4 Blood and Humankind are both included with Game Pass. So then I was thinking, do I spend £70 on Back 4 Blood and then £40 on Humankind, or do I subscribe for 1 month, play them both, get my fill, and then bounce for £10 a month?
The obvious answer there is Game Pass. Like,
exactly.
Straight up, I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
Not going to sugarcoat that. It's like, if you're looking to play Back 4 Blood and Humankind and you're happy to not actually have purchased them, go get Game Pass for a month.
I'm always like, you know what we do, like friends.
Yeah.
We always compare and we always talk and theorize, and we have friends who play across the board on all platforms. But I'm just thinking, like, because I asked you about Back 4 Blood and you said it's a bit too pricey if you're not that fully into it, which then got me thinking about, actually, it might be a little bit too much to pay for it. But then at £10 a month for Game Pass, I'm thinking, well, I could just play both.
To clarify that price point, it's not really a reflection. Me thinking it's too pricey is not really a reflection of what I think the quality of the game is. It's more a reflection of how much I personally would play that game.
Yeah.
And it would be the odd time, because with like you, Chris, or a few other friends, where we may only play together at most once a month or something online. Because we've all adults, we've got lives, people have children now, friendship groups, so it's just getting synced up. So it's like, the price of that game for how much I would want to play it, it just doesn't seem worth it to me.
Good old return on investment. But again, shout out to Game Pass, doing phenomenal things. I would have loved to see Humankind and Back 4 Blood be pro games for September. Alas, we're a long way from that, it would appear, for that particular thing. But I just thought I wanted to shout out, because again, we always talk about what we're playing in the future. And again, we always talk about how our attention is pulled away to other platforms. Like, I've got Ghost of Tsushima DLC that I'm looking forward to playing in just 1 week's time. So again, being pulled this left, right, and there's only so much time in the day. But that's one thing. Next story of the week, we move away from... Well, maybe we don't move away from Stadia news. It's very, very much Stadia news. Journey to the Savage Planet developers, like the actual employees, of course. We know... We might as well mention, Richie. Remember when Stadia Games Entertainment closed their studios back in February?
Yeah.
This time we can legit bring it up with purpose.
Yeah, this is not a random. We're going to throw this into an article because it's the only thing we know about Stadia. This is actually linked to that story. It's a continuation.
Exactly. So Typhoon Studios, of course, were one of the few studios that were acquired by Stadia, and they were put to work immediately on making a part of Journey to the Savage Planet Employee of the Month edition, which came out on Stadia earlier this year. The team behind that, however, of course, were closed down in and amongst everything else. They've reformed as Racoon Logic. So Typhoon Studios is no longer. They are now Racoon Logic, which I quite like the name of, to be fair. I quite like the name and the logo. It's quite funny.
Although Raccoon, I always got Raccoon City.
Yeah, they're very true. But raccoons have, well, different logic to how most animals think, judging from all that crazy antics they get up to. But what we wanted to highlight, I think, is a few points within this. So, obviously, Alex Hutchinson, famed in the Stadia community, is over there as well as creative director. He's took a bunch of other teams. So regardless of the teams, there's a few little snippets within the story to point out, and that is that they have been heavily backed by Chinese tech firm Tencent, which we've mentioned before on the program. So that comes with its own litany of potential problems going forward, being owned by Chinese tech giants, because that's its own article if you want to read into that one. For me, the more interesting thing, however, is that Google have been nice enough to allow them to keep their IP for Journey the Savage Planet. So Google just haven't decided to hang on to it. So that means in the future we could see a sequel from Racoon Logic.
We should clarify, though, that Google have allowed them to purchase the IP.
Could have been
they didn't just hand it back.
True, it could have been for like £1 though. It could have been one of those like business deals where you have to pay a certain amount.
If I had to take a wild stab in the dark, I guess that Google just went, "This is how much we paid for the IP. We'll sell it back to you for the same price."
Yeah, we might find out in part of an investor call or something like that with them being a business now. But I think it's great because the Journey to the Savage Planet is super fun. If you've not played it, it was a pro game. You should have it in your library. Loads of comedy, and they've said the whole point of Racoon Logic as well is they've got a core group of founders. They've got a lot of experience. They like to inject comedy into the titles and be creative, and I think that's fantastic. And in terms of their relationship with Google, there's an interview over on, I think it was The Verge who did an article on it. It might be Games Industry or Biz, where they actually clarified that actually Stadia in itself, the technology is fantastic, and they had no qualms about like the potential it has and what it's capable of doing, which is again a great reflection that they're leaving, I guess, on good terms in a way. All things said.
There's a lot of this article that pretty much clarify things we've talked about in the past, where it seems to be like Google have underestimated how much it would take to get AAA studios off the ground, and then decided the money's better spent elsewhere. And unfortunately, it just means studio like Typhoon was collateral damage to that.
Yeah, interesting stuff. So again, they kind of get a great fresh start. They are pairing up with 505 Games, which is they've got obviously Control and a couple of other titles out on Stadia, so there's a relationship there. I'd be interested to see long term what this means for the relationship with Stadia. Like, do they have like a bitter taste in their mouth? Will we see their next game even considered for the platform? Or do you think this is like, right, we've got our IP, that story, that chapter in our lives is done and dusted, they've done us dirty. But I guess money talks, maybe. They know the tech, so they can work. They've obviously had a very inside peek behind the curtain at Stadia, so actually developing for the platform may be in their best interest to test the waters.
Yeah. From the tone of the conversation, the tone of like the interviews and stuff, it seems like there's no like hard feelings between Racoon Logic and Stadia. So I'd expect they're just now the two separate entities, and they would deal with Stadia as they would any other thing. The one advantage they might have is a few more contacts that they could call.
Yeah, it's like reading further in the article, it does say like one of their head developers said like they appreciate it for the opportunity support by Google offered. It's clear he's not exactly devastated by the closure. Not only was this a chance to get Typhoon band back together with the rebranding and such, it also became clear over time that Google is a platform company, not a content company, which was at odds with the team's own ambitions. Again, that's Stadia potentially pivoting away from what they were probably told when they were purchased and initially brought on board. But I think it's left probably in the best way it could have possibly ended. This could have been a lot worse, and you could imagine the journalists like sharks circling around wanting to bring up more problems. Google cling on to Journey to the Savage Planet IP and will not let it go, hold it for ransom. You could picture all that happening, so it's probably in everyone's best interest to just let it go.
I'd imagine the Stadia team are quite happy when like Racoon Logic came to them with an offer, or maybe they might have or whenever them conversations started happening, and like, oh, you're interested in buying this IP off us? Like, yeah, we've now got an IP we have no intention to do anything with. Let's get some money back on it.
Yeah, I mean,
then all parties can move on and head on with what they want to pursue.
Yeah, I mean, they've got no studios to work on the IP, so. Yeah, why not? Why not? So hopefully we'll see some things in the future from those particular teams. And again, I'd love to see the titles to come across, almost like just to laying everything to rest and say, no, there's Journey to the Savage Planet 2, and it is coming out on Stadia. That would be a beautiful place to be in. Just be like, everything's ended in the best way possible. And is Racoon Logic a better name than Typhoon Studios? I don't know. Maybe.
Well, I think Typhoon Studios is a decent name.
It is, yeah, it is. So is Racoon, though. We'll see. They've got a little mascot now in the form of a raccoon, at least, to go with it. Yeah. Next up on the dock, Richie, we've got a big shout out to the audience, the community out there for Stadia. There was a massive, massive drive this week, led by a bunch of creators, but more importantly, InLead himself, one of our friends out there in the community. He ran a MetaCritic push to get Stadia games rated, because since all the games are out, there's over 180 titles now available on the platform. However, because journalists don't really cover it, they sit, unfortunately, on the Metacritic rating with no reviews, no scores, no ratings, which limits, I guess, Stadia showing up in wider reports and reviews and stuff if it physically doesn't have a review. The community got behind this initiative so well, and within 48 hours we had, I think it was over 3,900 reviews, or scores maybe, and over 1,000 reviews was the final tally, and it keeps getting bigger day in, day out, which now means, at the time of reporting, every single game on the platform has review scores represented for Google Stadia, which just absolute credit where credit's due.
The only little wrinkle in the ointment is I have seen some reviews on there when I've been reviewing stuff myself of people just giving it a 10 because it's on Stadia. Like, seriously, if you're someone like that, don't do that. Give it an honest review.
Because then
give it an honest review based on your interaction with that game on that platform. Because when you just start doing things, giving everything a 10 because it happens to be on Stadia, you're just inviting the haters in to review bomb it.
Yeah.
If you give an honest review and it's matching up loosely where things on Xbox and PlayStation and Switch line up, it shows a bit more credibility.
Yeah, you're completely right. Yeah, honesty is the best policy when it comes to reviewing. I jumped on and did a couple myself. I rated the games I'd played. Again, I said to myself, I'm not going to rate games that I've not touched yet, because that's pointless.
Don't review you haven't played.
Yeah.
You can't.
So, but at the same time, you're totally right. I wasn't going to go, and I think I gave Guilt a 7 for myself, for my experience.
I think I give Guilt a 7.
And I said, but I'm not going to give it a 10 because I rate like God of War as a 10. And sorry, but Guilt is nowhere near the level of God of War. Like, inside,
game. It's a really fun game. You should play Guild, but it's not a God of War. It just isn't.
Yeah. So, again, be honest with yourselves, but I intend to just do this a bit more. I think it's quite good. It's you and me again. Yeah. We've said before about doing like kind of any little like journalism stuff, and I think writing your own reviews is a nice little kind of like side way of just doing that.
I might just start making a habit of going forward. If I play a game on Stadia, I'll stick a review score down. If I like complete a game, I might actually write a review.
Yeah. And if you don't write a review,
I think that's probably we're at a point now. I think that might be the best way to go forward. Like, if you've completed a game and you think it's really good, get a Metacritic and tell people why you think it's really good.
Absolutely. Let people know what your take on the game was, and practice some journalism whilst you're at it. But yeah, shout out to the community stuff, amazing things, and hopefully, as the initiative, the theory behind it all, was to just make Stadia more awares, and now when people are checking out reviews, they are going to see it as an option, and it may be the best option. For example, Cyberpunk, I would argue, should be higher rated on Stadia than it is on PlayStation 4 because it plays.
I rated it I think I rated Cyberpunk in 8. Mm-hmm. I couldn't justify, as much as I loved the game, I couldn't justify any higher because it did have still some bugs and stuff, but...
Yeah, fair enough. And I didn't rate it because I haven't finished it, so I didn't bother. Still got it. I don't know if I'm even ever going to get an itch to go back to that game because of, similar to your Mass Effect experience, it left me with that many little buggy issues that I was like...
Bit of too much of a sour taste.
Yeah, I just, like, part of me as an adult was just thinking, I'll just wait until it's fixed and I'll come back then. And now, as gamers, we move on. And maybe when there's an anniversary remaster in 2077, like a special centenary edition, I'll go back to it. But... great stuff. Keep doing what you do, Stadia community out there. We love to see it. And if you hear any good stories like that, or you see any good things out there on socials, Facebook, Snapchat, TikTok, anything like that, let us know. We'd love to share your experiences, even if it's just community engagement, interactions, or you just see some good stuff going down out there. Talking about things that are good and going down out there, Richie, I read an article on The Verge this week saying that TCL, makers of some very good quality televisions, albeit on the cheaper side of the spectrum, have announced that their new 6 series and 5 series of TVs are going to come with Google TV instead of Roku, which is a big move in the American market because Roku is huge over there. Not so much in Europe, I don't think, but
I don't think I've ever encountered Roku in the UK, like full stop.
I've seen the little...
over here?
Yeah, they do like the little boxes, I think. But yeah, over here I think we had like Now TV boxes show up, and we had the Fire Sticks took off really early. Of course, Chromecasts, I feel like they've been around forever now.
Yeah.
But it's a big move over there, and they've been a big flag bearer, TCL, for Roku TVs in the past. In the history, they've always had that built in. They're not abandoning, I should say, Roku. It's still going to be an option. But in terms of the operating system, OS, it's going to switch over to Google TV on board, which of course, from our perspective here, that means everybody's going to get recommendations for Google Stadia. So that's a big chunk of the American market there, from people going forward, upgrading their televisions. They're going to be capable of all the fancy bells and whistles that Google TV comes with now. But from our perspective, more people able to just play Stadia on the go right from the TV.
Yeah, I think from the perspective of TLC or TCL. Is it TLC?
TCL, yeah.
TCL?
Tummy Loving
TCL.
Cares TLC.
One of the things is Google TV is capable of 4K at 120 hertz, where Roku is apparently capped at 1440p, so about 2K at 120 hertz. So that's probably the main justification they've made for switching over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
if it's got built-in Google TV, it should be compatible with Stadia, so there's another bonus.
Yeah, and we know there's a lot of stuff in the work this year. We're still waiting on the LG TV announcements. That was supposed to come, I think, back end of 2021. I, as someone who has 2 LG TVs in my house, I'm looking forward to that patch, because then I don't need the Chromecast stick. I'm just going to have it ready to go straight away. And they've obviously got partnerships.
I'm seeing the price of the current generation of LG TVs drop in price, so I might be able to afford one.
Yeah, jump in there and get one yourself. So again, just it's all these little chess piece moves that are going on behind the scenes. Direct touch input, televisions. The new Chromecast finally has it. We're seeing new packages on the website. Interesting times, Richie. There's loads of little pieces falling into place, I think, as we head into the back end of the year. We just need some more games now, I think. That'll pretty much pop the cherry on top of the cake. Final stories for the week as we round out episode 99 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. A little nice one thrown in for me. The Siege of Paris DLC is now available on the Stadia store as part of the Assassin's Creed Valhalla. Massive, huge game that we've both played hours and hours of our lives and put into. The little point I wanted to point out is not only is Siege of Paris available. I tried to do an update for the PS5 version for myself, Richie, and once again, I mentioned it before Thursday's stream, I think, or after Thursday's stream. 3 hours to download the Siege of Paris DLC. 3 hours. On Stadia, I just jump in, click it, and it's there. It's already focusing. And again, we laugh about it, but we get these little reminders when we go back to our PS5s.
3 hours, you could have been playing the game.
Yeah, I might have even finished the DLC and actually you might
have only had 3 hours to play that evening, and if it takes 3 hours to download, then you're not playing.
Yeah, that is completely right. I'm not. I don't know with Valhalla. I've got the same itch to go back in. In my mind, I'm similar to Cyberpunk. I'm telling myself I'll wait till all the DLC's out before going back to it. I didn't do the Irish campaign. I haven't really thought too much about doing Siege of Paris.
That's unusual for you for Assassin's Creed.
It is, yeah, but I don't know because I think Origins took me about 125 hours to complete all in. I think Valhalla took quite a bit longer, so I don't know if I just got burnt out on, like, maybe 120 plus hours is my limit, or like I've reached saturation point.
Yeah, I know that pain when you got a game where sometimes you're getting towards the end of the game, you kind of, I'm ready for this game to be over.
Yeah. I certainly was. I thoroughly enjoyed my time with it, but yeah, maybe. I mean, we might not even get an Assassin's Creed title this year. Doesn't look like we are. So I might just get that itch around Christmas time again. It's that, those winter season, the cold dark nights set in, and you think this is about the time of year.
I'll jump back in.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll do some promotion for it, which will give me that itch again. But yeah, the point I wanted to mention, the whole point of that segment, is if you go on the Ubisoft Connect app, and if you own more or have owned more than 2 registered Ubisoft Assassin's Creed titles, you get the Ezio Auditore di Firenze and Altair packs for free. So I'm going to jump back into Siege of Paris in the future maybe and be rocking Ezio's outfit. That should be fun. But free to claim. So I wanted to point that out to our audience, so you can go on the app and just claim it. It's literally right there in the reward section. You just hit claim and ping, he'll show up in the game. He won't, but his outfit will next time. Hopefully they'll give it a little bit of a wash. Final points for the week. We have the game Foreclosed is out on Stadia for a sale price as well. Merge Games dropped it this past Friday, in and amongst all the outright games, of course. This particular title is the narrative-driven action-adventure set in a cyberpunk world filled with action, suspense, and experimental augmentations. You follow the story of Evan Kapnos in a sleek comic book-style game as he unravels the conspiracy behind his identity foreclosure, who is responsible, and why. So this is almost like a Minority Report style game where a guy just wakes up and his identity is gone. He doesn't exist, and he has to go on the run to find who stole his identity and how he's going to get it back. If you'd even want it back, start fresh. But love the art style in this game. And it's on sale. And I looked the other day, 2 games, Richie. I've got Doom Eternal and I've got Foreclosed, both sitting around the same price point. And I don't know which one to pull the trigger on.
Have you played Doom 2016?
No, and I have that as well. I bought that in a sale.
Yeah, I was going to say that because that's like really cheap, and for the price, you should buy it. Anyone should buy that game.
Yeah, well,
£3.75.
So Foreclosed is available now. It's on a pro sale for £14.39, so down from its £18 RRP. So if you're thinking about that game, buy it now rather than later. But yeah, what I did want to bring up was that exact same thing. So it's QuakeCon later on this week, and thankfully Bethesda, of course owned by Microsoft Studios now, still have some titles out there in the wild. They have a QuakeCon sale on the Stadia storefront right now as we speak. I picked up Doom 64, Richie, because it was £1. Like, of course, that's one of the most revered titles of all of history. Of course I want to own that for the cost of... In fact, I used my Google Play balance to buy it. So it didn't actually cost me anything. Free. Oh. And like you said, I bought Doom 2016 probably about half a year ago now when it was on another sale. I think I picked that up for like £12 or maybe even less. But now I've got this problem where Doom Eternal is also sat around about the £12 mark. And I'm thinking, do I buy a third Doom game when I've not even started the other 2 yet? I'm in a dilemma. I'm in a gamer's dilemma where I could have it, but do I need it?
I think Doom Eternal has been on a number of sales. So if you're not going to buy it now, I think you're probably okay waiting.
Right. I needed that. That advice.
But with Doom 2016, for the price it is, £3.75 for that game is insanely cheap.
Oh, is that how much it is?
Yeah, £3.75 for Doom.
Wow, that is crazy cheap. Yeah, because obviously I already own it, so you don't see the price, unfortunately. But less than £5 for Doom 2016. Ooh.
The Doom Eternal Deluxe Edition is only £18.75, down from £75.
And that's with all the Ancient Gods DLC.
You probably I haven't looked at the listing. I will in a second. But that's even way that's a bargain.
Yeah.
So it might be, if you've got the money spare and you think you are going to play at some point, it might be worth picking up for that.
Yeah, decisions. Let me know, chat. Let me know below in the comments. Or let me know if you're picking it up as well and if you've played it so far. Because I know it's a great game. It's just finding the time. And we all do this as gamers. We see stuff on sale and we go, ooh, I'll get to that eventually. And then you never get to eventually. And it's stuck in your library. But I guess we're building a library together. Of course, we should point out as well, not just Doom games. There is Rage 2, Wolfenstein Youngblood, and a couple of other DLC parts available for sale over there in the Stadia. So it runs until the 24th of August, I believe. So you've actually got, at the time of listening, you've still got about a week or so to make up that decision. But jump on that while it's hot. And final story for the week, wrapping things up, Richie. I mentioned it right at the beginning of the show with our live stream for this week, but the Avengers, or Marvel's Avengers War for Wakanda, is coming out this Tuesday. It's dropping on all platforms from Square Enix, of course. Free for everybody who owns the game. This is not Season Pass content. This is not DLC. Payable content. This is, as they mentioned right from the beginning, new story content coming out for free for everyone to play. And this is the first big major story expansion with an actual new world hub. So we are getting the world of Wakanda as a playable location. The story is going to tie back in with the main campaign. You're going to see where Black Panther was during the events of A-Day and how the Avengers link in with Black Panther and the other characters. I can't remember, I think they're called the Doj Milaje or something like that. Dora Milaje. They're like the guards from Wakanda.
Royal Guards.
Yeah, the Royal Guards. They are part of one of his specials. as well. So he kind of summons them to help him out in fighting. I've heard Black Panther's character lands with a lot more. He's different from the version we're familiar with in the MCU, of course, represented by Chadwick Boseman. Apparently, his punches and stuff land with a lot more weight, similar to Batman was in the Arkham games. So he's a bit more bulkier, and his weight in his punches lands a lot better. And I've heard, the story is quite good. I've heard a lot of early previews of it say that it's what the game could have been early doors. I know we both have issues with the end game content of this title. That it's just the lack thereof. Yeah, exactly. They've stressed again that Spider-Man is coming to those PlayStation users' future down the line. But because it's free, I'm excited for it. We're going to jump in this Thursday, of course. You get to play as 4 people. And there is no longer a limit on who can play as who. So in theory, we could have an entire squad of 4 Black Panthers if we wanted to.
Make that happen.
Just the squad, the Panther squad. Panther platoon. Yeah. That's what we can be.
And then we'll all be the same level as well, because we started off at level 1.
Exactly. And similar to when we did the Hawkeye and the Kate Bishop DLC, we can play through the story together cooperatively with 2 other members from our audience. So if you are free on Thursday, 8 p.m. BST, check us out. Join us as we delve into the War of Wakanda. Available Tuesday for everyone who owns the game. Go check it out.
Yep.
That brings us to the end of Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode 99. We do have some very exciting things lined up for the future of the channel and the future of the podcast. Don't forget, we are celebrating episode 100 next week by bringing you lovely people out there a gaming live stream Saturday night, this coming Saturday, 21st of August. We're just going to play some games, have some drinks, chat with you, engage with you, the lovely community, for a little bit longer than we normally do. We'll probably go for a few hours. Don't forget, if you haven't done so already, click like on the video, subscribe to the channel so you're kept in the loop with everything here at Sounds of Stadia. And we should probably tease as well, Richie, we might have a very, very special guest for next week's episode.
We might be.
He may be a familiar face. She may not be a familiar face. It will be here potentially next week, but we'll clarify that in the days to come. We're looking forward to, of course, episode 100. It's no mean feat. 100 weeks on the bounce, reporting Stadia news and gaming stories for your listening and viewing pleasure. So thank you very much for your continued support. And if you'd like to support us that little bit extra, you can do from as little as 99p by clicking join below on the YouTube channel, on the video. And that gets you extra stickers, badges next to your name, and more importantly, 6 days early access to our Sounds of Stadia SideQuest episode, where myself, Richie and Tom go off the critical path and explore a deeper Stadia story. What's our topic this week, Richie?
We are talking about remakes and remasters.
Ooh, is that because of the Grand Theft Auto news by any chance?
It also gives me another opportunity to rant about Mass Effect.
Okay, so it might be a spicy one. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
I don't know how much I'll rant about Mass Effect.
No, we'll try and rein you in a little bit, just so those Mass Effect loyalists out there don't decide that you are dead to them. That'll be a preference. Thank you again, everyone, for watching along this week. My name's been Chris.
I've been Richie.
Have a great week, folks, and we'll see you for episode 100. Take care. Game on. Goodbye.